Hello, Anthem. Been a while since we've done a video blog, but we're going to do one today to finish up the sermon from this past Sunday on April the 28th. We started a new series called Design for Love, and was a little bit of over ambitious and the notes, and actually we never even got to the notes that we passed out this past Sunday. So I just want to take a few minutes to kind of fill in the notes to kind of round out the sermon from Sunday. The series is called Design for Love, and where we're looking at this, how we are created for love. We're created to love, and we're created to give love and to receive love. And loving people, loving God, loving ourselves, all of those things can be pretty difficult things to do. Even though it's something that we may have parts of down pretty good, there's other parts that we don't have down at all. And so we're going to be just looking at some really practical ways to help each other love one another, because that is the command that we have been given by Jesus. This past Sunday, what we looked at is we looked in 1 John chapter 4 and went through pretty extensively a few verses there, really focusing on how much God loves us and trying to get our minds and our hearts around this fact that God loves us more than we'll ever know. And because He loves us, because He sees us as beloved, that when we begin to taste of that and we begin to experience that and we begin to know of His love, then it changes so many things in our lives. So we spent that time this past Sunday doing that, and we never got to the rest of the sermon notes. And I titled the sermon from Sunday More Than a Feeling, because love is more than a feeling. A couple of things here just to finish out the notes. In the New Testament specifically, love is there's different words for love, which is different for us in the English language. I love my wife, I love my children, I love God, I love college football, I love pizza. I use the same word to describe all those things, even though I am obviously talking about different things. Those subject matters different. Obviously, I don't love pizza the same way that I love my daughter, and I don't love my daughter the same way that I love my wife. It's different. So it's important for us to understand a little bit of the context of those words. In the New Testament, there's really, the word love is used in three different ways. The first one is phileo, Philo. And it's friendship. That's a friendship love. The city of brotherly love is Philadelphia. So that phileo means friendship love, in which we're all familiar with what it means to have feelings and care for a friend. Then there's eros, E-R-O-S, and that is a word that is used for romantic love. So we get the word erotic from eros. And so there's romance. And what we talked about this past Sunday is how for most of us, when we hear the word love, that's usually what we think about. We think about romantic love, and that we're looking for romantic love. It's so much of what is a part of our pop culture and our music that we listen to and the movies we watch and the romance novels, or the love interest in any story that's centered around eros. And then there is the word agape. And that is God love, and that's taking love to a whole nother level. So when we talk about loving each other in this series, there's going to be some times that we're talking about how do we love our spouse, how do we love a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something like that. And we're going to be talking about friendship love. How do I love a friend? And then we are surrounding all of that with this idea of God's love, and that is what we're supposed to be doing. One of the things that we got to make sure that we're careful with is that I need to guard against allowing the world to define love. I need to guard against allowing the world to define love. I don't need the television to tell me what love is. I don't need the radio station to tell me what love is. I don't need the movies to tell me what love is. In fact, and this one's important, I don't even need my feelings to tell me what love is. We all have feelings. We all have emotions, and we have to learn how to manage those emotions. But our emotions cannot be trusted. How we feel cannot be trusted. Just this past week, as an example, downstairs of our house, 75 degrees. That's what the thermostat says. And last week, the end of last week, when it got up to 100 degrees on Friday, and I came into our house and it was 75 degrees, that 75 degrees felt cool. It felt good coming out of that 100 degrees. On Monday morning, I went for my run, walk, jog thing, and it was cool outside. It was in the 60s, and when I came in, it still was 75 degrees in the house, and it felt warm. 75 degrees felt cool, and 75 degrees felt warm. You can't trust how you feel. And we have really got to make sure that we are allowing someone, and we're going to say that is God, to define love for us, that we don't want the culture to do it, and we don't want our feelings to do it, and we certainly don't want our experiences to define love. That's what a lot of times we think that our experiences, we allow our experiences to define love, and that's no good either. So how do we know what love is? Well, Jesus is the perfected love. We saw that in Sunday when we read from 1 John chapter 4, that his perfected love, God's perfected love, is Jesus living. And then the Apostle Paul gives us a definition for love in 1 Corinthians 13. It's often referred to as the love chapter. And so I want to read the first 8 verses in 1 Corinthians 13. This is what it says. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions and I hand over my body so that I might boast, in other words, being a martyr, but I do not have love, again, I have nothing. What Paul's saying is, listen, I don't care what your resume, I don't care what's on your resume. I don't care how awesome you are, I don't care how wonderful you are, I don't care what you've accomplished, I don't care what other people think about you. If you don't have love, you're not anything. Then he gives us a definition for love. He says, love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious, boastful, arrogant, or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. Now that's a definition of love. And when we look at that and say, this is what I'm supposed to be about, that I want to describe my love for my wife in these ways. I want to describe my love for my children in these ways. I want to define love in my friendship, my love for the people that I go to church with, and my love for God in a way that God has defined love. So don't allow the world to define love for you. Allow God to define it. And when we let him define it, then we have a better understanding of what it is that we're supposed to be. I found it helpful sometimes to, if I'm really trying to find the definition for something, that's what we're trying to accomplish in this first week of our series of Design for Love, is defining love as, okay, well, let's look at what love is not. Love is not a few things. First of all, love is not always agreeing. And some people think that if you love me, then you're going to always agree with me. You're never going to disagree with me. We're never going to have an argument. We're never going to have a fight. We're never going to sit. We're always going to see the same thing, see it the same way. Oh man, that is such a fallacy. That is such a lie. That is not going to happen. So love is not always agreeing. Love also doesn't mean a lack of confrontation. There's going to be confrontation. That's not the question. The question is, am I going to be loving through that confrontation? In fact, the word confrontation, where we get that, it means to turn your face towards. So when I confront something or someone, I'm turning my face to them. So love is not always agreeing, and love is not a lack of confrontation. Another one is that love is not always giving people what they want. If you always give somebody what they want, you don't love them. So that's not what it is. Nowhere in that does we read in 1 Corinthians does it say that. Love is not limited to emotion. Some people think love is just an emotion. In fact, love's an action. Love really is a verb. It is what we're supposed to be doing. It's not just an emotion. Now, love comes with emotions. Don't hear me say love doesn't come with emotions. Because when we love and when we feel loved and when we're giving love, it feels good. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. But love is not limited to an emotion. And then the last one, love is not chemistry. We know that 3 things you got to have in a key relationship: character, commitment, and chemistry. Love is not just chemistry. You don't. We're not commanded to just love the people we have chemistry with. We are commanded to love everyone. And so that is what we are seeking to do. So that's finishing out the sermon from this past Sunday. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday as we're going to talk about how to listen to each other and how to understand each other. And we all need and want to be understood. And if we can get into that place where we can learn how to listen to people and we can find people who will listen to us, then we'll begin to understand what it means to love one another. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon.